boy. It's way too hard at the ice out the neck. It's way too hard at the ice out the neck. When I'm in my zone, bitch, I get my respect. Call me Bobby Johnson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Texas Sports World. I'm your boy, Isaac. Camera's already out of focus. You know what else is out of focus? Oklahoma. This is kind of the review and preview of last week's games, going into next week's games. Just not all of them, just the games that I kind of figured were they were just on my radar, so I decided to get on here and talk about. First up, we got OU versus Texas, or Texas versus OU. Texas comes out with the victory over OU 23-6. Kind of a big game for Arch, not in the sense that like he played great, but just more so the fact that like they really needed the win. Texas did. Sark, all the guys over at Texas. I picked Texas to win this game actually, but I did not expect it to be by this much. John Mateer looked really bad, albeit hand surgery like 12 days prior or something like that. But that's not really an excuse for OU, because if he was good enough to go out there and good enough to play, then he should have been good enough to win. And if he wasn't, and you're doing your team a disservice by throwing him out there, then kind of get what you deserve. Arch Manning goes 21 for 27 on his pass attempts, 166 passing yards, and a touchdown. Not like the most impressive stat line ever, but I'd say very serviceable. And I think coming into the season, that's really all you needed Arch to be for this Texas team. Really good. Okay, the squad that they have in Austin is really good. Everybody wanted to say that Arch needed to do this, and the third, but he didn't. All he needs to do is be serviceable. You go out there, you're serviceable against Oklahoma, you come out with the victory. Okay, 34 rushing yards. Wisner had 22 carries for 94 yards. I mean, I think Texas did exactly what they needed to do. They controlled the game, and it wasn't close. I mean, John Mateer goes 20 for 38, 202 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Now, Mateer isn't really, in my opinion, all that everybody makes him out to be, regardless of the hand injury or not. I was not super high on Mateer coming into the year. I was a little higher than I was on him before he got injured. And then, he comes out. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was definitely the hand injury that made him play that bad. But like I said, not an excuse. Still got to go out there and perform if you're going to go out on the field, or else you're just going to lose a game for no reason and look like shit doing it. Can't really have that. You know what I mean? So Texas comes out there, beats Oklahoma 23-6. As it goes, unfortunate for OU, but everything they want in the season is still there. They got a tough schedule. If they win, a couple more games, they're right back into it. They drop down to 14. Texas moves up to number 21 in the new ranking system. So good for Texas. Texas also has everything that they want in front of them as long as they win out. I don't think they can afford to lose another game. They got Kentucky, Mississippi State, then Vandy. I think they should handle Kentucky. Mississippi State, I think, is like a underratedly decent game for them. I think Texas should beat them, obviously, but you never know. They should have beat Florida also. And Mississippi State's actually playing a lot better this year, but they got Mississippi State. They got Vanderbilt versus Texas. I think that'll be a decent game if Vanderbilt can hold on and continue to play well, which I believe they will. I think Texas beats Kentucky. I think they don't just beat Kentucky. I think they put on Kentucky. As far as Oklahoma, they got South Carolina next weekend. I got Oklahoma beating South Carolina. I'm still right there with South Carolina. I got OU over South Carolina. I think they get a get back game. They need to win. It just is what it is, man. You got to go out there and win. I don't know if Mateer probably will play because he played in the Texas game. You can't just not play. So Mateer will probably be in. Mateer will look good, probably, hopefully. I'm rooting for him, but I don't know. Georgia versus Auburn. Clap it up for him. Clap it up for Georgia. Scary game in Jordan-Hare. That place is cursed. We know that. Georgia played, outside of like shitty, they played pretty well, I guess. Like, I know that sounds crazy. Gunnar Stockton goes 23 for 36, 212 yards. like to see him be a little more efficient, but also not super high on him either. Jackson Arnold goes 19 for 31, 137 yards. Also not high on Jackson Arnold. Never have been. Hate him, actually. And Auburn sucks. I just wanted to kind of rub that into the Auburn fans. Hate you guys. Hate your program. Hate your football team. Georgia smacked that ass. And you know what? I'm not even mad about the little timeout and the multiple bad calls for going for Georgia against Auburn. Not mad about it at all. Love to see it, honestly. Love to see it. And then next up, we got my Alabama Crimson Tide versus Mizzou. Better game than I expected it to be. Closer game than I expected it to be. I wanted to see Alabama kind of go out there, and I projected them to win by like 10 or more points. That did not happen. Kept Ahmad Hardy to, I think it was like 50-something rushing yards. Ty Simpson, dog, freak of nature. 4th and 8, super accurate, Sunday throw. I don't even, a lot of people are saying that 4th and 8 throw by Ty Simpson was they say it was like an NFL throw. I don't think it was just in it, because I think there's NFL quarterbacks that can't make that throw. Justin Fields, sorry, didn't mean to call you out. But I think Ty Simpson makes that throw. I don't think there's a ton of NFL guys who can make that throw. Insane throw, very underrated, I think. And Ty Simpson keeps it rolling. Jam Miller gets hurt. Derek Meadows gets hurt. Yikes. Don't love that, especially Tennessee coming to your house in Tuscaloosa next week. Hate to see that. Let's get into that game. Alabama versus Tennessee, 3rd Saturday in October. Huge rivalry game. Joey Aguilar looking pretty good, honestly. Now, you got some questions for the Tennessee secondary coming into it. And here's my thing. Ryan Williams was kind of a non-factor in the Mizzou game. And, I think everybody – actually, I don't really think people noticed it as much, but Alabama fans did. Ryan Williams was kind of a non-factor, and that's interesting to say because he had the drops earlier this year. He's kind of been going through that, dealing with that. And then you look, and then he doesn't really get targeted. Also, he's coming off an injury. Like, he was on the injury report that week coming into the Mizzou game. So a lot of people are saying, like, oh, he was out there as a decoy to get other guys open. I mean, Lottie Brooks he was a baller this week. But another guy who was kind of underrated or flew under the radar was Jeremy Bernard. He didn't really do too much, this week. He was kind of quiet, and he didn't score a touchdown. And then, Lottie Brooks was kind of like the saving grace for the Alabama receiving core, and obviously Isaiah Horton. But I think that just goes to show how deep the Alabama receiver room is. When you can have 2 of your 3 starting guys really kind of not ineffective, but just not do much, and then still put up good numbers in the passing game. Let me see exactly what happened here. Ty Simpson goes 23 for 31, 200 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. Jam Miller goes 20 for 85 yards. Derek Hill goes 6 for 16. We had some good rushes. Obviously, Kevin Proctor, Heisman candidate, goes in there, gets him a rush. Lottie Brooks had 4 catches for 58 yards. Isaiah for 3 for 34. Johnny Cuevas, the tight end, goes 2 for 28. Jam Miller has a couple receptions. Jeremy has a couple receptions. But outside of that, nothing crazy, really. 2 of our running backs scored. They caught the ball for touchdowns. Completely forgot about that. I thought it was a receiver. But 2 of the running backs for Alabama go out there, in the red zone and catch touchdown passes. So it wasn't even all wide receivers in the receiving game that did that, And I think that just goes to show that they're super deep. Bama is very deep at the receiver position and pass catchers and playmakers. Tennessee, not so great secondary up to this point in the season, but I do think that their defensive line is really good. And I think they lead the nation in turnovers or something like that. Now, I don't know, but it's a very strange thing. You can always count on Josh Heupel and his offense to go out there and score points. And I think Alabama's defense looks really good for the most part. they look good. There's some like obviously blaring issues like Damani Jackson in the secondary, but for the most part, Dijon Lee, the freshman defensive back, like 6'5", looks like a giant out there. He played great. Damani Jackson kind of got yanked from the game after that first touchdown pass in the Missouri game. Not really yanked, but just kind of wasn't in as much. And Dijon Lee kind of gets in there and balls out. He had a pick. He could have had two, honestly, but he dropped one. Tennessee comes out. They played Mississippi State last week. Joey Aguilar goes 24 for 40, 335, a touchdown, and 2 picks. So a little inconsistent there. Overtime versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State looks good. Mississippi State, they just look good. That was the last game that they played in September. Let me see how Mississippi State did. Oh, yeah, Shapen goes 18 for 29, 181, touchdown, 1 interception. So just turnover battle. I think that's the key to victory for both teams, win the turnover battle for that Alabama-Texas game. Or not Alabama. What am I talking about? Alabama-Tennessee. Sorry. Slip up there. It's been a while since I've been back here. That'll be a good game, I think. It always is. I got Tennessee. We're going to go score prediction here. I got Tennessee scoring 34 points. And I got Alabama scoring 41. I think it'll be a good old shootout. Another game that I'm looking for. So I think that'll be game of the week, Alabama-Tennessee. Another game I'm looking out for is Ole Miss-Georgia. Now, Ole Miss is coming off of probably their worst performance of the season against, I don't even know who. I completely forgot who they played. I'm blanking out. But they played bad, man. They played really bad. They were down in the first half. I think they were trailing that game going into the fourth quarter. Finally get to the fourth quarter, and they finally come back. Lane Kiffin is notorious for like not being good enough. I think he's a great coach. I have nothing but respect for Lane Kiffin and what he's done with Ole Miss. He always has a ton of talent. His quarterback room's always stacked. His offensive system always works. But he always has a game every season where it's like, what is that? Like, why is that such a close game? And that was last week for them. And they only dropped one spot. I think they were fourth going in. They dropped one spot after officially winning that game. And then Georgia, obviously. Georgia, they're going to play good. I think the defense is the worst it's looked ever, but I think their offense looks 10 times better than it has the past couple of seasons. Well, outside of what's his name. But last year looked terrible. And then this year looked much better. But I got an upset happening. I got Ole Miss beating Georgia in this game. I think it's going to be 17-21. Ole Miss wins. I think Lane Kiffin gets the boys down and Ole Miss fired up. I think he gets the Rebels fired up. I think Georgia, I think Kirby Smart, I think that team, a lot of close games. That's another thing. I think Kirby Smart has a tendency to play in close games for no reason against teams that he shouldn't be close against. I think the Auburn game was a lot closer than it should have been. The score doesn't represent what was happening in game. They just looked weird. And they got away with some stuff that probably could have lost in the game. And they ended up, the calls went their way, unfortunately, if you're an Auburn fan, which don't care about you guys. They pull out a win. But that kind of stuff can't always happen because they had trouble last year with Kentucky. I think the year before that, just like super close games. But then they always pull out, find a way to win, and then move forward and end up winning more games, which obviously is what you need to do regardless. I think an ugly win against an inferior opponent is better than a loss against an inferior opponent. So shout out to them. I don't know what the Big Ten slate is. Sorry, I'm a SEC homer. Another game that I wanted to talk about here was Oregon versus Indiana. Oregon was ranked third, I think, going into this game. Indiana was ranked somewhere like late 10s or teens or something like that. I don't really remember, but Indiana pulls out the win against Oregon, 30-20. Indiana now moves to 6-0, Oregon 5-1. Good news is at this point in the season, every team that has lost a game or two still has whatever they want in front of them, Oregon included. Moore goes 21 for 34, 186 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Really bad against a really good Indiana defense. Super, I think, underrated Indiana defense. Indiana, Mendoza goes 20 for 31, 215 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. That game was weird because most people picked Oregon to win that game. But Indiana's been kind of on the rise for the past couple of seasons, and I feel like they haven't been getting the credit that they deserve. Because they just built a really strong-minded program and very defensive. They're like the Georgia of the Big Ten. That's kind of how I think of it. Just a good team. They're just a tough team more than anything. But yeah, so next week they got Iowa. Michigan State. That's going to be a blowout, I think. And then Oregon has Rutgers, a good get-back game for them. I think Oregon smacks up on Rutgers. Penn State obviously loses. Another one to Northwestern. They dropped to 3-3, fired their head coach. Got to get them out of here. Got to get them gone. So that was just real quick. Thanks, you guys, for stopping in and liking or whatever you did to watch this video. Kind of quick review and recap and preview of last week going into this week. Y'all take it easy, sleep, eat, do whatever you want. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace.
I with the beefing on the net.